begin. There are 4 immortal words that we use to tell a story. We use it in the beginning. I'm sure you all know, so I tell you what, I know you know. So after the count of 3, let's all say those 4 words together. 1, 2, 3.
Once upon a time.
Oh, isn't that lovely? You see, you don't need me because you're all storytellers, aren't you? So, once upon a time, we were in a dwelling a little bit like the one you're in now, deep in the heart of the rainforest. And the head of the village, the head of the community that lived in that part of the world was a mighty chief. He ruled his village well. He was fair, he was kind, and because he was a good chief, the people in his community worked hard for him. And this didn't go unnoticed because the chief one day thought to himself, I must thank my people for working so hard for me. And he decided that the best way to say thank you was to have a party. Who likes parties? Yeah, we all like parties, and the chief thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to organise a great big party, and he was going to invite every single man, woman and child in the village to come along. But he made one condition. All he asked was that every man in the village bought a calabash of his finest red wine. Now, a calabash is a sort of fruit. We've got a calabash tree here in the rainforest. It's sort of up there and along there and along there and along there. And the fruit of the calabash tree, if you pick them and you sort of scrape them all out and then put them out in the sun to dry, they make wonderful bowls and cups. And they're very good for holding liquids. So the chief said every man in the village was to bring a calabash of fine red wine to the party to empty into a great big barrel, so that at the right time his servants could pour everybody a small calabash of wine for the royal toast. And this was what everybody was going to do. Now, everybody was really looking forward to this party, but there was a man in the village. He was a mean man. He was a mean man, he was a tight man, he was a stingy man. And he wasn't going to share his fine red wine with anybody, not even the chief. And he said to his wife one day, he said, I know just what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill my calabash not with wine, but with water. You can't do that, said his wife. That's really mean, that's really tight, that's really stingy. And he said, well, I don't care. After all, if everybody else is bringing their fine red wine to empty into the barrel, what difference will one calabash of water make? So that's what I'm going to do. Well, the day of the party arrived. Everybody was so excited. The women were all dressed up. The men were wearing their finest robes, and the children were so excited. And they arrived at the party, and there at the entrance to the great hall where the chief was sitting at the end on his mighty chair, there was a large barrel. And as all the families walked in, the men were asked to pour their calabashes of fine red wine into the barrel to be served out for the royal toast. And the mean man, the tight man, the stingy man, when the time came, he emptied his calabash of water into the barrel. After all, what difference would it make? The moment came where the chief stood up. Everybody had had a wonderful time, and it was the time for the royal toast. And he asked his servants to pour everyone a small calabash of wine from the barrel. Well, the mean man, the stingy man, the tight man, he was really looking forward to tasting everybody else's wine. And the servants came and they poured the wine into everybody's calabashes. The mean man, the stingy man, the tight man, he couldn't wait for the chief to rise and give a toast, and he took a sip. Oh dear, wasn't very good red wine. And then at that moment the chief stood up and he thanked all his people for working hard for him, and he raised his calabash and he said, right, let us drink to community. And everybody drank from their calabashes, and everybody pulled a face. They almost spat what they tasted out. It was dreadful. It was awful. It wasn't very good red wine. You see, It wasn't red wine at all. Because that mean, stingy, tight man, he wasn't the only man to have the idea of putting water in the barrel. Everyone did exactly the same thing, so that there was no red wine in the barrel at all, there was just water. That just goes to show that when one person has an idea, it can make a small difference. But if everybody has the same idea and does the same thing, it changes everything. And just to prove my point, I want somebody with a very loud voice. Oh, normally you can't wait. Have you got a loud voice? Okay, so on the count of 3, I want you to shout as loud as you can, Happy Christmas, Cornwall. Will that do? Will that do? Okay. So on the count of 3, Happy Christmas, Cornwall, okay? 1, 2, 3.
Happy Christmas, Cornwall!
Well, that was very good, wasn't it?
That's very loud.
But to prove the point of the story, because all stories do have a little bit of a point, after 3, I want you to all shout Happy Christmas, Cornwall, and see if we can make a difference. Okay? So 1, 2, 3.
Happy Christmas, Cornwall!
You see what a difference you can make when you all work together. Thank you for listening to my story.
And thank you, Di. They'll be back again this evening with another